Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gemma and I'm coming to you from my home in Devon in the southwest of England. It's a bit of a grey and wet day, so it's just the perfect time, it feels to me, to get cosy and have a chat about all things crafty. If you're new here, welcome. This is my creative roundup each week where I share all the things I've been making, and it's very much a process thing, so I do share what goes wrong as well as what goes right, my joys and frustrations, so I'm very much a human crafter. It's predominantly knitting and fibre arts, but I have been branching out lately into sewing. I've also been indulging in sharing my love of baking and family moments as well, so focusing on lovely walks around where we live in Devon, which I like to share with you, and also creative crafted time with my toddler, who is definitely following in my footsteps of loving all things creative. It's been a bit of a funny week here this week. I've not really been able to settle to anything. My mind's been all over the place. I've not been sleeping very well. And as a result, I've not been terribly productive in my crafting, and I'd started to feel a little bit frustrated with myself. But I think it's really important in times like that to remind yourself of why you do it. You just enjoy it. When I first started knitting, it was something to do in the evenings while I was watching TV with my mum, you know. Same with cross stitch. It was just a process. I just enjoyed doing it. So I'm not quite sure when I started focusing more on how productive I've been or what I've achieved, and this idea of wasting time by not doing so much. So I sort of took a deep breath and took a step back and allowed myself to really enjoy this week of making. So it's a bit of a slow video. There's lots of walks that I want to share with. Actually had 3 different walks this week, all with different bits to share and different relevances to this video and what I'd like to talk about this week. And there's some sewing, some quilting, some cross stitch, some knitting. I'm actually going to talk about socks this week. I'm bringing it back into this episode, and also I was teaching. I taught at Wool on the X in Exeter this week, so I've got a new project to share with you there as well. So one of the things I've learned about myself recently, kind of observed, and something's finally clicked, is that if I'm not happy with something, then I just leave it. I don't continue working on it. And this was true of my English paper piecing, which has been a very long ongoing project. It was meant to be for a friend for Christmas, and I missed that deadline. I didn't want to work on it when I had COVID, and then I missed the deadline, and then I've been scared of it. I've been scared of getting it wrong. I've been scared of trying the new things and doing the new stages. And in the back of my mind, or the front of my mind, to be honest, was this constant, this is meant to be for this special person. This is meant to be really lovely. And what if you ruin it? So all of those things kind of held me back. And I got to the stage where I was quilting, and I started by machine quilting this piece, and my machine quilting skills leave a lot to be desired. So I stopped part way and started hand quilting it, and I was much, much happier with the result of this. And my initial thought had been to just finish it by hand, not to unpick everything I'd done, because I'd already unpicked it twice, the machine stuff, and tried again, but it would meet in the middle and it would be okay and it would be fine. And I stopped working on it, and I realised as I picked it up the other day and sat to do some quiet slow stitching, I realised the reason I'd stopped working on it was because I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't going to be happy with it. So I unpicked it. I spent about 3 hours across the day, not all in a lump, because it was a weekend, had my toddler. I spent about 3 hours unpicking it all and then hand quilting it again. To my surprise, I've managed to hand quilt both pieces in a couple of afternoons. So this activity, this stitching that had taken me weeks and weeks and I was incredibly slow at, and I thought, oh, it's going to take me another 2-3 weeks to do, was done very quickly indeed. And the simple thing is because I was happier with it. So here's the finished pieces. I've got one here, and where's my other one gone? Well, there are two. You might just have to take my word for it that there are two, because the other one seems to have disappeared, but this is the bigger of the two panels. And the project is the Patchwork Hot Water Bottle cover by Jules of So Sweet Violet. Looks like one's missing there, but it's not. And you create these hexagons and then sew them together into this shape and a similar shape. And then from there, you quilt them onto your wadding and backing fabric, and from there Jules provides a template, which obviously I'm not going to show you, it's a paid for pattern, to cut it out and stitch it together into a hot water bottle. And I'm so happy with it. I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but I have hand stitched all the way around. It's a little bit wonky, it's still got that nice kind of squishy quilted look. I went for something called Stitch in the Ditch, which I thought was stitching in the seam, and that by stitching in the seam it would create this really poofy hexagon type thing, a bit like the beekeeper's quilt, I think, the knitted version where you knit hexapuffs, I think they're called, and I love it. There's the old Disney Cinderella film, I don't know if any of you have seen it, but there's this one picture, one illustration from the film where you see this patchwork quilt on Cinderella's bed at the fairy godmother's house, and it's just got that hexapuff type look to it. It's just squishy, and that to me is quilted and quilting, and it needs to look squishy to me, and obviously it doesn't necessarily. And stitching in the ditch as well, I found was a little bit tricky. So instead what I went for was a kind of stitching near the ditch, which apparently is just as acceptable for stitching in the ditch. And you can see, if I hold it up again, there we go. There you go, you can see my stitches. There we are. I'm really happy with it, and I'm looking forward to doing the next stage now on this sewing piece. My cross stitch project is also coming on well. Again, I've taken my foot off the gas a bit, and I've given myself permission to enjoy it rather than becoming stressed about whether or not I was achieving my 20 minutes a day for 100 days, as was the 100-day project that I shared. The 100-day project worked for me brilliantly a couple of years ago, but I'm clearly just not in the right space to do that now, and that's fine. I'd rather enjoy it and complete the project for my son, and it will be done. It'll be done for him, ready for Christmas, I'm sure, and then I can get on to my big cross stitch project a bit later in the year, the one I shared with you before. Here it is. This is Percy so far. He's a character, a train from Thomas the Tank Engine, or as he's now known, Thomas and Friends. He's Thomas's best friend, a cheeky little tank engine with 4 wheels and a shiny dome, and yeah, he's a cheeky little thing. And he came to Sodor when Thomas was given his own branch line, having been very useful and helped James, who was a mixed weight engine and whose brakes had caught fire because for some reason they thought it'd be a good idea to give a train wooden brake blocks. That's a lot more information than you probably felt you needed. I'm really enjoying it. One thing I always find frustrating when it comes to cross-stitching black on white is no matter how carefully you stitch, you can always see little specks of the white Ada poking through. I do find that frustrating. I don't know if anyone out there has a solution to that for me, but yeah. Anyway, I think Robin's really going to enjoy it. He gets so excited each time he sees me working on it, although he has stepped up his encouragement of me to hurry up and finish this one, Mama, and do Thomas next. Quite a lot to share with you in knitting this week. There are some socks. There's also a brand new cast on, two brand new cast ons actually. One following my class that I taught at Wool on the X. I taught my introduction to knitting in the round class, and it's a very popular class. It's the second time I've taught it. I've got another 2 almost fully booked sessions coming up, and my follow-on course, Top Down Sweaters, is, I think it's got 1 place left for the class in January as well, which is really exciting. I am very grateful to Debbie, Ella and the team for letting me teach there, and I do really enjoy myself. So my first new cast on was the, I think it's the Twisted Cable Beanie. I'm pretty sure it's designed by Ella, although apologies Debbie if it's one of yours, I do apologise. And it's the project that goes with the course. So I teach the skill of knitting in the round, and then we embark on the first project together. And when I saw this fab yarn that everyone was using, I felt thoroughly jealous and wanted to join in. And I'm really, really enjoying it. I think this is going to be for my goddaughter for Christmas. Actually, no, sorry, I know who this is going to be for. This is going to be for Layla, who is the Knitting Expat's little girl. So this is going to be a Christmas present and go in my Christmas box. I'm really enjoying the twisted stitches. It looks like a cable, but you don't need to use the cable needle because of the direction of the stitches, and it makes it a very soothing piece to knit. With regards to the yarn and the needles, I did actually find I was getting a little bit of irritation on my little finger, and I don't know if that is due to the fibre content of the yarn or due to the thickness and weight of the yarn and needles when I have been knitting so very many socks recently. So I shall report back on that one. Talking about twisted stitches, another project that I've really been enjoying this week is my Dear Björn socks. This is a pattern from 52 Weeks of Socks, and it was the July make along for the 52 Weeks of Socks knit along group that I belong to on Facebook. In their wisdom, they've made me a group expert, and I do try and be present in there if I can and help out with any confusion. But in true Gemma fashion, if you've been here at any time at all, you'll know I'm not that great at make-alongs. I always fall behind. I start with great enthusiasm and gusto, and then I trail off and just cheer everybody else on. But that's absolutely fine. So Dear Björn, and I'm so happy with this sock. I can't begin to tell you, and I think you're going to love it too. Are you ready? Look at that. Oh, the evening light. I said this a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? The evening light is a really good one for me to record in. And I think it is because look at those colours. This, the main colour, which is from here up, is Grainbow by Fiberpunk. It's a very special self-striping, and if I turn it round that way you can see it's a kind of variegated speckled self-striping rainbow, and it's just glorious. Red, orange, green, blue and purple. So a 6 colour repeat, and it has these flecks of grey. And when I was thinking about casting it on, I'd seen lots of other people's works in progress in the group, and some people have gone for one colour, some people have gone for a contrast tow. I thought, actually, I think this yarn will look really well in it, and I've got a ball of Dusty Miller from West Yorkshire Spinners that I can use for the toe, heel and cuff. I always struggle to say toe, heel, cuff, but anyway. And as luck would have it, it's almost a perfect match. You could almost think that I'd actually introduce Dusty Miller every so often up here. It's only the kind of appearance of some of the rainbow colours that gives it away. So I'm really thrilled with that as a match. I'm going to put it on my hand a little bit like a mitten, and then you'll be able to see it better. There we are. Just focus on the sock, not on me. It's just so pretty. It's my second ever toe up cast on. I used the Very Pink Knits slow-mo tutorial. She's a fantastic tutorial maker, videoer. Yeah. I have no problem with cuff down. I've always knit cuff down and I quite enjoy the grafting at the end, but there is something particularly satisfying about that completely seamless toe. I think my dad would enjoy toe up socks. I think I might make my next pair for him toe up. I'm a little bit nervous about it, about getting the fit right, because I've got his recipe for sock down off pat, but there we are. So I really like that one. What I'm actually at the point of doing now, if I turn it around that way again, you can see is, there we are. Can you see it's increasing there? I'm doing the gusset. It feels so weird to be doing it upside down. Have you knit toe up socks before? I'd love to know. I'm really nervous about whether or not it will fit me. The guide says finish it a certain number of inches before the desired length of your foot. And I do actually have quite small feet. They're little duck feet, really. They're quite small and wide. I think it's about 3.5 UK and off the scale in width. So I take anything from a 3 to a 5.5, depending where I get my shoes from. But there we are. You didn't really need to know that, did you? Oh well, you do now. That's my foot size. But I'm trusting the pattern. My plan is to finish the gusset, and I've nearly finished it, I think, and then use Dusty Miller again for the heel flap, no, the heel turn and heel flap, and then come back to using Grainbow for the leg of the sock. Fingers crossed it works, please. But I'm just loving it. I'm really enjoying the slip stitches and the twists. Again, it's the same sort of twist as you get in the hat, the beanie that I've shared with you already. I'm not entirely sure that my DK Halloween socks have got any further since I last spoke to you. I've done one completely, which is here, not on a sock blocker. I just think they're so fun. They're so wild. I'm going to have great fun wearing these on Halloween. I don't know if the preschool is open on Halloween, but I think the kids will get a real kick out of my spooky socks. So there we go. I just think that's such fun. I wouldn't mind a cardie out of that, actually. It's a bit wild, isn't it? And this is my second sock. I'm done the leg. At least I'm hoping now I've done it the right length. And I'm onto the heel flap. I'm really enjoying these. I love how fast double knitting weight socks are. Our second walk was Buckfast Abbey. I needed to take my mother-in-law there for a reason. So yeah, we hopped in the car and down we went. Robin decided to skip his nap, so instead we had a lovely time walking around the grounds of Buckfast Abbey and also exploring the various shops and galleries they have on site. My favourite little find when we were at Buckfast Abbey was this amazing shop. It's an independent shop, it's a charity, and it's a garden come craft centre. So on one side it's got all things to do with gardening, garden paraphernalia, gardening inspired jigsaw puzzles, stationery and house plants to buy, and outside there's an outdoor plants with plants for sale that are reared in their various gardens on the site of the Abbey. And on the other side there are three rooms dedicated to artisan craftspeople. There's a real emphasis on wool and natural fibres and celebrating wool. I was particularly struck by the needle felted bags and the lace shawls. Now when I saw the lace shawls with a price tag on them, I must admit I caught my breath. I was almost scared to turn the label over and see how much was being charged. I'm so used to seeing crafts and handcrafts undervalued, so it was refreshing to see an okay, I feel, price. I don't think it truly reflects the work, but it's certainly a lot better than I was expecting for these beautiful pieces hand knit in pure wool. And while I was there, I picked up these rather lovely skeins of sock yarn. It's ice yarns, which I've not used before. I like trying new yarns for socks. I'm enjoying it. It's good to branch out. 75% superwash wool and 25% polyamide, which is about standard. These are 50-gram balls, I want to say. Let me see. They're from Turkey. I believe they're 50 grams. Why can't I see a weight on here? Oh, there we go, 50 grams, 200 meters. So I bought two to make sure I'd have enough to do socks with. But also, again, not that I know what I've done with it, I think the Dusty Miller would be a really good contrast to make it go a little bit further. I think that'll work really well. They were just £2 each because these actually were from someone's stash. Unfortunately, the lady in question had passed away and her husband had donated the yarns to this charity to sell. And there we go. So I have got another pair of socks for £4, possibly 2 pairs of socks because I've got little feet. So that's not bad, is it? And I think it goes really nicely with the summer sock camp colours, the idea of 80s, 90s fun, and I think this kind of goes really well with that. I was also really interested to see that they have a workshop available and are looking for tutors for various crafts. So I'm going to be having a chat with them and seeing about whether or not I can take my workshops there as well, which would be really exciting. Okay, now on to a slightly different thing. I've got a bit of announcement. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you'll know this already. Or if you follow the Knitting Expat, you'll know this already, in which case this isn't really an announcement at all. But I have taken the decision to close the Midnight Diary. I will no longer be dyeing yarns. I've got one bespoke advent to do that was a commission, and I'll be dyeing the advent calendar, and I've got one collaboration with a local designer that's in the works that I'm very excited about and we'll see through. But other than that, I am no longer dyeing yarns. I'm closing the Midnight Diary and changing direction. It feels a bit odd to have it out there and to share it with you. But my life's in a different place now. I've thought long and hard about how to share this with you. Dyeing is definitely something that makes me incredibly happy, and I've been very privileged to have my yarn stocked in some fantastic shops, to be selected, you know, to apply successfully for some truly phenomenal yarn festivals. the Wool Monty and what is now known as the Scottish Yarn Festival, giving me my big breaks and showing me such kindness. It's been an incredible journey and one that I've really, really loved ever since my friend Jude, Stranded Dye Works, announced on his podcast that I was dyeing yarn, and the undyed yarn was still in the boot of the car where I'd been for nearly a month since I'd been up to Perth Festival of Yarn in 2018. And I thought, well, I better get my big girl pants on and get going with it then, hadn't I? And from then it's just been amazing, and I cannot thank you all enough for your support. I've been very blessed to have a number of international customers. Obviously Brexit makes things a little bit more difficult, but there we are, less said about that the better. And support and be part of a community the world over, which is just amazing. But I've been thinking about this for a little while, if I'm being completely honest with you. I wasn't sure how it would fit, how it would work with our new life down here, and I gave it a lot of thought. And ultimately my epiphany came when I thought to myself, if Lara were still here, my daughter, and we'd all moved to Devon together, would I think twice about stopping dyeing yarn right now? You know, with Robin running around and a new career starting and, you know, living this wonderful life in Devon, would I be thinking twice about it were she still here? And the answer was no. Of course I'd stop right now, because it doesn't fit with my life right now. It doesn't work. I have to find the time, and it's difficult to find the time when I want to be spending that with my family and, you know, exploring the wonders of Devon and living life and enjoying life. And the reason I hadn't stopped yet was because I started this business for my daughter before she was even born. I'd started it with a view to building something that I could then work around my family with and bring her up. And in some ways, kind of stopping it is another letting go, if that makes sense. Sorry, context, if you're new and you've not seen any of my videos before, I have a little girl. Her name is Lara, and unfortunately she passed away when she was a month old. She'd be 6.5 now. I can't quite believe that. 6.5 actually on Sunday, but there we are. And I think that was it for me. That really was the point where I realised that actually I'm kind of continuing for the wrong reasons, if that makes sense, and trying to shoehorn it in, and it doesn't work. And if she were here, then I'd be closing, at least for the time being, at least until both my children were in school and we were at a different phase in life. So it's not necessarily goodbye forever, it's ta-ra for now, TTFN. And since I realised that and kind of accepted that, I felt a lot better about it in myself. And I've been enjoying my making and enjoying my journey and enjoying life. So yeah, that's why I've made the decision to stop that for now. And it's moments like this, teaching my son to roll down hills in the summer. That's what's important right now. Building that life right now. And my podcast is still going to carry on, but in a slightly different direction. I'm still going to be teaching. There's a very dramatic bus went past just then. Talk about tension breaker. I'm still going to be teaching my classes. I've got a few more scheduled at Wool on the X, and I'm going to continue my relationship there and carry on teaching. And as I alluded to before, I'm looking for the opportunity to do more workshops, and I'm going to carry on making, and I want to carry on making videos because I'm really, really enjoying that. So I've done it every year this week. It's been a long day. Every week this year so far, which is the most consistent I've ever been. And I'm really enjoying the variety of crafting as well and enjoying that time. And I hope you are too. So I'd like your input, please, if possible. It doesn't seem right to carry on the channel name as the Midnight Diary because I won't be the Midnight Diary anymore. So I'd like your suggestions and input. And the videos themselves, again, I've called them these last two the Devon Diaries, but it's kind of like a holding title for the podcast, because I've used it before to share about moving down here, and also it is a bit more of a sneak peek into our life in Devon. But I'd love to know what you think. would work. I'm really nervous about doing this. Any change is nerve-wracking, but I wanted to do it now because, as I said, I'd had that epiphany, and also we're about to start a new year. We're almost a year exactly from moving down to Devon, and so it just feels like the right time to do this kind of fresh start, to have all change on my channel and change my branding and get rid of the business stuff. I'm not going to be the Midnight Diary anymore on Instagram. I don't know if I just need to be me or what I need to do. So help, what do I do, guys? You've been with me for the last 6 years, some of you have been with me for 6 weeks, but you might still have an opinion. And I'd love to hear it. Yeah, so and obviously with the new school year starting in September and I starting my early years initial teach training, there's just something about this time of year, about summer and September particularly, that, and obviously it being the anniversary of us moving down here, it just feels like the right moment to do it. And so what I want is by September to know who I am. Help me find myself, if that makes sense. So the videos are going to carry on, and it's going to carry on being a bit more like it has now, with many more crafts brought in, a touch of gardening, some walks that we go on around the countryside and things we explore and do, tours of shops, creative places that I see, and there'll be more quilting, more baking. I've got this fab book, Traditional Devon Recipes, that my husband picked up from a charity shop that he wants me to make. So I thought I'd make something from that every couple of weeks or so, as fits in with my schedule, and share that with you as well if you'd be interested. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited for my new life and for how things are going. There is a lump in my throat talking about closing the diary, not dying anymore. There've been a few people I've shared this with, and yeah, a few of my friends have kind of been there for me while I've been sort of hashing out this decision. So I've not done it completely alone, but I've shared it with them now. So I've told people that's it, it's out there. Can't take it back now. So yeah, so that's that. That's that. I think if you do want my hand-dyed yarns, the Yarn Dispensary, as far as I'm aware, still have some in their shop. I'm not sure if they're online, but they're in their shop. And Mina, the knitting expat, I think still has some kits of mine for her patterns as well. So do go and have a look at her most recent podcast, because that's it. That's all there is. There isn't any more. It's done. It's done. And so yeah, let's move on now and talk about the last stage of my week, which was another adventure. I went to see a client in Tavistock. I was visiting them anyway, as with my Search Press hat on, because I represent Search Press down here in the southwest and I look after retailers. And also I was picking up some very special yarn from them. But on the way, I had to take Robin with me, so we had some adventures in Dartmoor. Let's go exploring, okay.
Dart.
The River Dart, yes, because we're in Dartmoor National Park, aren't we? Do you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
get in the river.
No, we're not getting in the river because it's a bit fast and a bit wet, but we can walk down here. And now let me show you a little bit of Tavistock and the shop. The shop is called Soft Touch Needlecraft. It's run by Darren and Patsy, and they've got a fantastic team there who are really friendly and welcoming. And last time I was there, they actually sourced a very special yarn for me, and I was there to collect my order. So here's the yarn that I collected. It is the King Cole Tropical Beaches in the Lara Beach colourway, which is the yarn that Maddie sent to me as a gift for obvious reasons. Lara, my daughter's name, that I made socks out of, and I just really wanted a garment in it, and I've really struggled to find the yarn. But the girls at Soft Touch Needlecraft ordered it in especially for me, and I was able to go and pick it up this week. So I have got 6 200-gram balls of DK weight yarn, so I think it's definitely going to be enough to make a sweater for myself and hopefully something else as well, but we'll see. I really kind of want a bat wing thing. I'm not doing a flax, don't panic, I'm not doing a flax. And the other thing I picked up when I was there was this quilt panel, which was half price. And it says explore together, and you've got Vickerstown Station and Thomas and Nia, who's a new character. She's from Kenya, and it says explore together, Thomas and friends. Now the reason it was half price is because they've mistakenly cut right down the edge of the panel. So the panel can still be made, but it's going to miss part of the border. And it will impact this bit here a little bit, but I think that would have been anyway. That would have been impacted anyway. So I'm not entirely sure what to do with this, to be honest. I bought it on a whim, didn't ask, a little bit embarrassed to ring them and ask them in retrospect. Please tell me, what do I do with this? And talking about quilting, the final thing, now this is utterly ridiculous because Search Press distributes for Annie's, so I'm sure I could have got hold of this easily. But I was looking through their spinner, and Annie's book, 'Tis the Season for Quilting, very Christmassy very Christmassy projects. And I asked Zara, when the ladies there I was talking to, Zara and Caroline were there on Tuesday. I said, is this idiot proof? I'm a terrible, well, enthusiastic novice sewist. That's my line. That's how I introduce myself. I manage everyone's expectations and pretty much meet them. I don't exceed them. Yeah, and we went through one of the projects and she said, yeah, I think you can do this. I said, okay, so if I look through this and I choose a project, do you sell X, Y, Z? And she said, yes, we do. I said, so I can ring you, organise what I need. And she said, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, they've got some really lovely projects on there. I really like this cushion, but I'm not silly. I know that's way beyond me. The little panel, and I love this quilt as well. So yeah, there's going to be some more quilting on the horizon. So that's it. My phone battery's flashing at me. I've got about 4% battery left. I've been talking for nearly 40 minutes. The light is almost completely gone. I think it's time to stop. I very much hope you will join me on my next adventures and carry on enjoying the creative content and the crafting and the scenery and all those things. Do let me know below. And I look forward very, very much to carrying on sharing this with you in the future. I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.